Shedeur Sanders is starting. Not in some hypothetical future. Not after a few more weeks of development. He's starting now, and Cleveland is absolutely combusting over it. The Browns fanbase has been on the brink for weeks, fuming over the quarterback carousel that spun Joe Flacco back into relevance and left Dillon Gabriel floundering in an offense that couldn't punch its way out of a paper bag. After a season defined by hesitance, misfires, and a front office that's made chaos look like strategy, the decision has finally dropped. Shedeur Sanders will lead the charge.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It's a move wrapped in desperation, hype, and the kind of narrative weight that could either launch a new era or crush under expectations. Joe Flacco's return from the football graveyard was charming for about 2 games, until defenses realized he still moves like he's underwater. Dillon Gabriel? Electric in theory, erratic in practice. His performance was the kind that makes fans start Googling draft prospects before halftime. This wasn't a quarterback room, it was a waiting room. And now, the Browns have yanked the fire alarm and thrown Shedeur Sanders into the blaze. The pressure is astronomical. Media outlets are already treating this like a Netflix special in the making. Sanders, dripping with confidence and already moving like he belongs in the league, hasn't taken an official NFL snap, but you'd think Cleveland just signed peak Peyton Manning. The expectations aren't just high, they're mythological. This isn't just about fixing an offense. It's about cleansing a cursed franchise. But that's exactly what Cleveland does. They don't pivot, they detonate. Management has once again ignored slow builds and tossed their golden ticket into the firestorm, gambling on the hope that Sanders will single-handedly rewire the team's identity. Fans want a savior, not a project. And whether that's fair or not, Shedeur's about to carry every cracked decision the Browns have made for the last 15 years on his shoulders. This is the franchise that could turn a talent pipeline into a clown car, and yet Sanders might be the one who finally breaks the cycle. His presence isn't just a roster shift, it's a statement, loud, risky, and possibly brilliant. And with every camera pointed his way and every analyst holding their breath, one thing is clear. The Browns didn't just make a quarterback change, they declared war on their own dysfunction. The Cleveland Browns have done it again. Another quarterback controversy, another chaotic midseason twist, and now? They've officially named Shedeur Sanders as the starter. Not next season. Not down the line. No. And the fans? Let's just say, exploding doesn't begin to cover it. For a franchise that's practically allergic to stability, the Browns somehow still managed to raise the bar on dysfunction. The team's offense has been flailing for weeks, the locker room is tense, and the fanbase is fed up. Veteran Joe Flacco, once seen as the safe hands option, has crumbled under pressure. Dillon Gabriel? Not much better. The offense has become a walking disaster, disorganized, ineffective, and completely lifeless. So here comes the wild card, Shedeur Sanders. The Browns, in their trademark fashion, have tossed the rookie straight into the spotlight. Not exactly a soft launch. You could feel this boiling for weeks. The rumblings, the growing impatience, the boos raining down from fans who've seen this movie way too many times. It wasn't just that the Browns were bad offensively, it was that they were embarrassingly bad. Lifeless drives, miscommunications, and quarterbacks who looked like they'd never met their own offensive line. That kind of failure doesn't just create drama. It demands a scapegoat. And with Flacco faltering and Gabriel floundering, the Browns had to make a move. So they did what they always do. They went big, they went loud, and they went with the name that everyone's been whispering all season. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just any rookie. He's the rookie. The confident, composed, hyper-scrutinized quarterback with the last name that echoes across college football and into the pros. The swagger, the interviews, the social media presence, it's all part of the Shedeur package. And love him or hate him, you can't deny the talent. People have been waiting for this debut like it's a Super Bowl trailer. And now, it's finally happening. But let's back up. Because this isn't just about Shedeur. It's about what led to this point. Another chapter in the Browns' decades-long masterclass in how not to manage a football team. Joe Flacco was never supposed to be a long-term solution, but watching him underthrow wideouts and crumble under pressure was like watching a VHS tape in 4K. It just doesn't belong anymore. And Dillon Gabriel? The gamble on him fizzled faster than Cleveland's playoff hopes. The Browns' quarterback room turned into a turnstile, and the fan base hit its breaking point. Calls for Shedeur became deafening. Media segments, fan blogs, Reddit threats. It became a movement. Not because anyone knew he'd save the team, but because anything looked better than what they were already stuck with. Enter Shedeur. Not by accident, not quietly, but as the answer to a question Cleveland's been asking for decades. Is this finally the guy? And listen, for all the mess surrounding this decision, it's not just a stunt. Shedeur's confidence isn't just for show. He's shown flashes in preseason. He's commanded attention like a veteran. And he walks into every room like he belongs there, which, in Cleveland, is half the battle. That confidence, that poise, that sense of inevitability, it's what separates him from the carousel of QBs Cleveland has burned through over the years. Shedeur isn't walking into a locker room hoping to earn the guy's respect. He already talks like a leader. And in a franchise that spent years tripping over its own feet, that kind of presence matters. Still, let's be real. This isn't some carefully timed move. It's desperation wrapped in hype. The Browns didn't suddenly discover a hidden gem. They backed themselves into a corner and threw a rookie into the fire, hoping the blaze turns into fireworks. And the media? Oh, they're loving it. Every headline, every hot take, every countdown to his debut, it's turning into a spectacle. Shedeur isn't just starting a game. He's stepping into a narrative. One that could define not just his rookie year but the entire direction of the franchise. Because that's what this is. Bigger than just one player. The Browns aren't just betting on Shedeur's arm, they're betting on a reset. A full-blown identity shift. They're banking on a kid with confidence and swagger to yank them out of years of mediocrity and inject some life into a franchise that's been circling the drain for way too long. And here's the kicker, it might actually work. It sounds insane, right? This is the Browns we're talking about. The kings of chaotic rebuilds and self-inflicted wounds. But sometimes the chaos works. Sometimes, desperation unlocks something real. And Shedeur? He has the tools. The arm, the timing, the poise under pressure. The fans aren't just excited because of his name, they see someone who could finally be different. But it's a lot. A lot. The pressure's already off the charts and it's only going to grow. One misstep. It'll be dissected for days. One bad game? The too soon critics will swarm. That's the burden when you're seen as the savior before you've even taken a real snap. And don't forget, this is all unfolding under a management style that's about as stable as a folding chair in a hurricane. The Browns have made an art form out of risky moves and tone-deaf decisions. Their quarterback rotations feel like a roulette wheel. One week it's trust the process. The next it's throw him in and see what happens. So what makes this time different? It's not just about Shedeur. It's about timing. The offense is broken. The fan base is fractured. The media spotlight is hotter than ever. And in the middle of that perfect storm stands a quarterback who wants the pressure. Who invites the spotlight. This isn't someone trying to quietly grow into the job. This is someone ready to take it and own it. And you know what? That might be exactly what Cleveland needs. Because this team doesn't just need a good quarterback. It needs a spark. A reason for fans to believe again. A leader who's not afraid of the weight. Shedeur Sanders isn't a safe bet. He's a statement. A challenge to the culture of chaos. And if he can deliver, the Browns won't just win games. They'll rewrite their legacy. It's a tall order. But at this point, what else does Cleveland have to lose? The fans are already all in. You can feel the energy shift. The memes, the merch, the tweets. It's like the city is collectively holding its breath, hoping this isn't just another hype train headed off a cliff. Because if Shedeur crashes, it's back to square one. Another failed experiment. Another wasted season. But if he doesn't? If he steps in and owns the moment? We're looking at a potential franchise reset in real time. A cultural shift. A new chapter. The Browns are gambling big. The fanbase is watching every move. And Shedeur? He's walking into the chaos like he's been here before. So buckle up. Because no matter what happens next, this is going to be loud, dramatic, and absolutely unforgettable. And if he actually pulls this off? If Shedeur Sanders really is the one to break the curse? Cleveland won't just be back. They'll be reborn. Let's see if the kids got it. What do you think? Will Shedeur change the Browns' story or just become another name in the quarterback graveyard? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned, because the drama is just getting started. The decision to start Shedeur Sanders isn't just a football move. It's a franchise-level gamble that exposes everything broken in the Browns' DNA. And the fact that this choice has landed in his lap right now says a whole lot more about Cleveland's chaos than it does about Shedeur's readiness. Let's be honest. This team has made a career out of mishandling quarterbacks. From first-round busts to journeymen to short-term band-aids, it's a revolving door of almosts, maybes, and what could have beens. Quarterback development in Cleveland? It's like planting a rose bush in a dumpster fire. And now we're throwing another name onto the flames. Only this time, it's someone with a reputation big enough to set the entire city ablaze. This isn't just a player stepping into a role. It's a symbol. Shedeur represents hope, manufactured or not. He's become the latest answer to the Browns' favorite question. Could this finally be the one? And that weight? That's the kind of pressure that can crush a young player before he even has time to breathe. But here's the thing, Shedeur wants it. That's what separates this situation from the 27 others that came before it. He's not just another guy getting handed the ball because there's no one left. He's been groomed for this moment, he expects the heat, and he's walking into the fire wearing sunglasses and a smirk. Let's talk swagger. Because this move isn't just about stats or mechanics, it's about aura. And Shedeur has that rare kind of charisma that makes people want to believe. He talks like a leader. Carries himself like someone who's been here before. The moment never seems too big, and in Cleveland? That's not a bonus, it's a survival mechanism. And right now the Browns don't just need a quarterback, they need a reason. A reason for fans to still care. A reason to stay tuned in. A reason to stop muttering same old Browns every time the offense stalls out on 3rd and long. But here's where the plot thickens. This isn't just about performance. This is about expectation. Shedeur's name alone carries weight. His college pedigree, his media attention, his father's legacy. He's not stepping into a clean slate. He's stepping into a narrative already written in Sharpe. And the fans? They're not asking him to learn the ropes. They're asking him to save the franchise. No pressure, right? The media circus is already in full spin mode. Headlines are treating his debut like a Marvel reboot. Analysts are either predicting glory or total collapse. There is no in-between. And for the Browns front office? This is the most attention they've gotten that isn't about firing someone. So you better believe they're leaning in. And let's talk about that front office for a second. Because this decision didn't come from a place of calm, rational planning. It came from panic. From frustration. From years of disappointment boiling over until someone finally said, "Screw it, let's just do it." And that's Cleveland football in a nutshell. This team has a long, proud tradition of skipping over strategy and going straight for spectacle. And that's exactly what this feels like. It's flashy. It's loud. It's risky. And it's exactly the kind of move that either flips the franchise upside down or blows up in their face. There's no middle ground here. This isn't a test drive. This is the ride. And it's already started reshaping the team's identity. Just the idea of Shedeur stepping in has fans buzzing. The energy has shifted. Suddenly, people are talking about the Browns again, not out of pity or sarcasm but out of curiosity. Out of hope. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This isn't a Disney movie. There are real risks. The offensive line is shaky. The receiving core is inconsistent. The coaching staff? Well, let's just say they've had their share of head-scratching moments. Shedeur isn't walking into a perfect situation. He's walking into the middle of a storm. And storms don't care about hype. He'll get hit. He'll make mistakes. And when he does, the narrative will swing hard. Because that's what Cleveland does. One week you're the savior. The next you're a headline in a "What Went Wrong" segment. But Shedeur knows that. He's been under the microscope for years. Pressure is nothing new. And that's what gives this whole thing a weird sense of maybe. Maybe this time the stars are actually aligning. Maybe this is the quarterback who doesn't flinch. Who doesn't fold. Who doesn't care about Cleveland's cursed history because he's too busy writing his own. That's the story fans are desperate to believe. Not just that Shedeur is good, but that he's different. That he's bulletproof. That he's the one who can finally pull this team out of the mud and into relevance. Because let's face it, the bar isn't that high. The Browns don't need a miracle. They need stability. Consistency. Someone who can go out there and not turn the ball over in the red zone. Someone who can read a defense, move the chains and not collapse under the weight of expectations. If Shedeur can do that, just that, he'll already be ahead of half the quarterbacks who've worn the orange and brown. And the fan base? They're not just watching, they're invested. Because if this works, it means the Browns might finally be crawling out of the pit of endless rebuilds and into something that resembles a real, functioning football team. If it doesn't, well, we've seen that version too. That's the risk. That's the drama. And that's why this isn't just about football. It's about faith. About a city that's been burned so many times, it doesn't even flinch anymore. About a team that desperately wants to be taken seriously. And about a player who's being asked to do something that almost feels impossible. Make Cleveland believe again. And maybe, just maybe, that belief is already starting to spark. The Browns aren't just starting Shedeur Sanders because he's the best option. They're starting him because they have no other option. Because the way things were going, the season was already circling the drain. And in that kind of chaos, sometimes the boldest move is the only one left. So now we wait. We wait to see how Shedeur handles the pressure. We wait to see if the hype has any weight. We wait to see if this city, this team, this cursed football legacy can finally find something real. Because if Shedeur succeeds, even a little, it's going to change everything. Not just for him, but for the franchise, for the narrative, for the culture. Cleveland might finally have a quarterback worth building around. A player who doesn't just survive the pressure, but thrives in it. Who can lead, inspire, and maybe, just maybe, win. But if it doesn't work? If it all goes sideways? Well, the Browns are used to that too. Still, this time feels different. The energy's different. The stakes are higher. And Shedeur Sanders isn't playing scared. The Browns might finally be on the edge of something they haven't had in decades. A future. Now all that's left is to see if he can deliver. This is the Cleveland Browns flipping their entire narrative mid-season. And the league is watching like it's reality TV. Because while other teams are fine-tuning playoff strategies or locking in chemistry, the Browns are once again detonating the reset button in the middle of a storm. But this time, the explosion has a face. And it's Shedeur Sanders. Let's talk about what this moment really means. It's not just about starting a rookie quarterback. It's about putting every last shred of the franchise's reputation, strategy, and public image on his shoulders. Not next season. Not with a proper system built around him. But right now. With a fan base on edge, a roster half-cooked, and a coaching staff that still can't decide whether it's rebuilding or competing. That's the Browns' blueprint. Chaos first, explanations later. And no matter how talented Shedeur is, and he is, you've got to wonder how much of this move is about what's best for him, versus what's most convenient for the franchise's PR disaster of a season. Because let's not kid ourselves, the Browns didn't reach this decision from a place of strength. They didn't unveil Shedeur because things were going smoothly. They did it because the fan outrage was too loud to ignore, the offense was in full meltdown mode, and the media pressure made doing nothing feel like malpractice. Cleveland wasn't planning this. They were cornered into it. And yet, there's still this strange optimism in the air. Like, maybe this time the desperation will finally pay off. Because for all their flaws, even the Browns can't mess up forever. Right? Right? Look, history isn't on their side. This team has fumbled more quarterback decisions than any other franchise in modern NFL history. It's not even close. They've started 35-plus different quarterbacks in the last 2 decades. Most of them didn't even last a season. Some didn't last a month. So when the Browns hand the keys to anyone, you have to ask, is this genuine belief? Or just another throw at the dartboard? But here's the twist. Shedeur doesn't feel like just another experiment. His presence isn't quiet. It's not cautious. He carries himself like someone who already knows where the story ends. There's no rookie hesitation. No humble learning curve routine. He walked into the facility like he already knew he was the guy. And that's throwing a shockwave through this franchise. For once, it doesn't feel like the Browns are just guessing. It feels like they're actually surrendering to the obvious. Because say what you want about his name, the media attention, the pressure, Shedeur's got that rared. And that's not something you can coach or manufacture. That's something teams spend decades trying to find. And maybe, just maybe, the Browns accidentally stumbled into it. Still, let's not get romantic about it. He hasn't played a regular season snap yet. And Cleveland's dysfunction is the kind of thing that swallows even the brightest prospects whole. The weight of a franchise doesn't just land on your shoulders, it tries to break them. The Browns' culture of crisis is relentless. Coaching turnover, front office reshuffles, inconsistent schemes, and the kind of toxic pressure that turns every game into a referendum. It's not a place where young quarterbacks thrive. It's where they go to be broken. So now we have to ask the uncomfortable question. Will they ruin him too? Because the track record says yes. And that's the real tragedy lurking behind the excitement. It's not just that Cleveland is starting Shedeur Sanders. It's that they're doing it under the same system that's failed every quarterback before him. And unless that system changes, his ceiling doesn't matter. You can't build around a player if you don't know what you're building. And right now, Cleveland still looks like a franchise without a blueprint. Starting a young quarterback without an identity is like handing someone a steering wheel and forgetting to build the car. And yet, the hope is still there. Because Shedeur's confidence doesn't just feel authentic, it feels contagious. He's not trying to save the franchise by force. He's just being himself. And in a city that's seen every type of quarterback come and go, that authenticity matters. It cuts through the noise. It makes people believe. And that belief? That's the most dangerous thing in football. Because when a city starts to believe, everything changes. The locker room shifts. The fan base rallies. The media turns. And suddenly, this team that was buried 6 feet deep in dysfunction is being talked about like it might actually have a future. That's what Shedeur's debut represents. Not just a quarterback swap, but a full-scale emotional rebrand of the Cleveland Browns. One that might finally pull them out of the narrative graveyard and into relevance. And let's talk about that relevance. Because this move, it isn't happening in a vacuum. The NFL is a league built on storylines. Quarterback arcs are the league's favorite drama series. And the Browns just cast one of the biggest personalities in the game as their lead. Everyone is going to be watching. Every analyst, every commentator, every rival fanbase is locked in on this next game. Because if Shedeur comes out firing, if he looks composed, electric, in command, the Browns go from punchline to plot twist. But if he stumbles, the pressure will triple. The media will feast. The fans will fracture again. And the franchise will be left with an even bigger mess, because there's no putting the genie back in the bottle after this. This isn't a test run. This is a commitment. The Browns can't bench Shedeur 2 weeks from now without lighting the entire fan base on fire. This move has long-term consequences, on the field, in the locker room, in the front office. And it's forcing Cleveland to finally confront what kind of team it wants to be. Not just for this season, but for the next decade. Because let's be real, the Browns haven't had an identity since before most of their current fans were born. They've been stuck in this purgatory of mediocrity, caught between rebuilding and pretending to contend, never fully committing to either. And Shedeur's arrival? It might be the moment that finally forces a choice. Do you build around him? Do you clear out the dead weight, bring in coaches who fit his style, and create a system that actually supports a franchise quarterback? Or do you keep pretending that plug-and-play chaos is a strategy? Because you can't do both. Not anymore. Not with Shedeur in the building. His presence demands change. It demands commitment. And it demands that Cleveland finally decide if they're ready to stop being a cautionary tale and start being a real contender. It won't be immediate. It won't be easy. But this is the moment. This is the line in the sand. This is the chance for Cleveland to rewrite its legacy, starting now. Because if Shedeur Sanders takes this team and makes it work even a little, we're looking at the beginning of a full-scale transformation. From failure to future. From chaos to culture. From eternal rebuild to actual relevance. But that transformation isn't guaranteed. It's earned. Week by week. Snap by snap. And starting now, the countdown begins. Do you buy into the hype? Is this just another Browns stunt? Or the first real step towards something bigger? Hit the comments and let us know. And if you're as locked in on this unfolding saga as we are, don't forget to subscribe. This story isn't close to over, it's just getting started.